Hello everybody, it's Laura Husband here from Hairdressers Journal International. I'm thrilled to have you with us today for our session on what to expect at Professional Beauty World with HOB Academy's technical educator, Chris May. If you haven't heard about Professional Beauty World yet, we're going to tell you all about it today pretty much, because we would love for you to join us, and it's completely free to register, and you can register at professionalbeauty.world. It's a 3-day virtual networking, educational, creative and business event for the global hairdressing industry. Obviously, being virtual means that anybody tuning in can enjoy it, and it's taking place next week on the 8th to the 10th of September 2020. And as part of the event, we're going to have a great session with Chris May on quick and profitable colour services, which you won't want to miss. Chris, who's with us today, is part of HOB Academy's creative team. I can see he's doing a little wave there, and he's the technical educator, which is absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much for joining us today, Chris.
How you doing? You're right. You're good.
Yeah, it's great to see you. And you can see you've got if you move your head slightly, we can see your little sign behind you as well, which is fantastic. You've gone to all that effort. We might as well be able to see it, mightn't we? Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us. And I guess for anybody tuning in, do you want to maybe tell everyone a little bit about your role at HOB?
Of course, yeah, definitely. So as Laura said, my name's Chris May. I'm part of the technical education team and creative team at HOB Academy. And my job basically here is to be working on all of the show work. I work very closely with colour director, who is Warren Badagian. And we kind of look after the colour department for the brand. And I also still run a column in the salon as well. So I'm kind of in touch with both education, but I also am kind of in tune with what's going on day to day in the salon as well, which I find is a massive part of my role, and it really helps me with kind of moving the business forward and coming up with ideas. And this is what I'm going to be kind of talking about maybe like next week, and how it's important to be growing yourself as a hairdresser and adapting to what we're seeing in these new times in the salon.
100%. And your session is going to be a live demo, isn't it? Where you'll be showing some techniques on quick and profitable colour services. And it's taking place next Thursday at 12:30, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can...
Yeah, I'm going to kind of be talking about we're going to be doing a demonstration, obviously due to the time scale. It's going to be a portion of a demonstration, so you'll see kind of a bit, but it's just going to be talking about kind of the importance of how we're having to adapt with clients in the salon now, and how we can obviously, again, profitability and being kind of making sure that we're utilising the products that we've got available to us to get them to work for the best of their ability. It's all about kind of working smart, not working hard in that sense.
And that's what we all need to be doing now, isn't it? Yeah. And what's been your personal experiences in the salon post-lockdown? Obviously, and we know that you do all the technical education side of it, but you've also got your column, haven't you? So how has that inspired you for this session, which you'll be doing this live demo next week?
It's been really interesting. It's been a very interesting time. I found that it was difficult at first coming back. I almost felt it was quite impersonal. There was the whole PPE situation. Obviously, we completely respect the importance of it and how obviously we need to make sure that we're retaining the virus and not spreading and causing problems. But it almost felt like I had one of my senses taken away, of being able to read that client's their body language, and also it's trying to judge how kind of concerned people are about it per client. Whereas before, you're kind of like, how are you doing? You're all right, come through. Yeah. But is this time you're trying to, it's like an extra thing that you're trying to work out, like, is this person really, really conscious about how we're behaving? And so you've just got to be hot on it every step of the way, making sure everything's being disinfected, clean, making sure that client feels as comfortable as possible. Have
you become an expert at reading people's eyes, Chris?
Yeah. I'm becoming very good at it. It's and obviously, but even silly little things. Like when you're blow drying, they can't lip read, and I'm doing a lot of laughing and nodding.
Yeah, exactly. Over exaggerated nodding.
But yeah, so it's been difficult, but we're getting there now, and I think both as an academy team and also as with the salon team over in Camden that I work with. We're adapting to it, and we're sharing our own kind of what we're doing, how we might be finding things are working. We're also talking about which visors are best. It's mad, isn't it? Like,
hot topic of conversation, isn't it?
Use and what scissors to use, but now we're all about what visors are best.
100%. And obviously you're a technical educator with HOB. So what's post lockdown and then obviously post lockdown and everything reopening? What's all that meant from a training perspective?
It was difficult at first. I think as a team, as an education team, I think we found it quite difficult at first because we went from being 100 miles an hour to dead stop, and then we were all at home, we were all going crazy, like what we're doing. So we were keeping in touch throughout the whole of the lockdown and making sure that we're coming up with ideas of kind of how we can come back bigger, better, and stronger post lockdown. So we're using things like Zoom, and we're all on house party, having a chat and having a laugh every now and then.
Brilliant.
So stuff like that was really, really important, and also I think for your own mental health to make sure that you're feeling like you're still kind of involved with stuff as well. So it was that was a kind of great way that we kind of got through that. Coming back now, obviously some of us are in, and we're obviously due to the fact that we've got to keep like the flow of people reduced rate. It does feel slightly disjointed sometimes, but we're as a team we're all getting along like a house on fire. So we kind of we're always having banter over the WhatsApp chat and things like that. And
brilliant.
We're keeping in touch with each other that way. But it's we've obviously got things like the British Hairdressing Awards, which we've just done. And then I'm through to the final for Trend Vision as well. So we've been working on that as a team. So we're getting back into it slowly.
Yeah.
We've also got the Apprenticeship Academy, which has just started to get up and running again. And again, it's just everyone just adapting to the new normal and working with visors and masks and things like that, and just being a bit more conscious. Which I think, if anything, it's actually quite a good thing, because it's very easy to fall into that autopilot mode, even when we're doing clients or just putting colour on and putting highlights in. But you're like, if you're more conscious about what you're doing, I think it makes you more conscious about everything that you're doing, especially with your day-to-day practice in the salon, just being generally a bit more cleanlier and things like that. But it's good, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's definitely for the good, 100%.
Fantastic. And from your personal experiences, how have you used those to adapt to create these new adapted services, which you'll be showing us how to do next Thursday at 12:30?
It's strange, as I was saying, that with the clients coming in, they're a lot more conscious about obviously how much time they're spending in the salon. So what I've tried to adapt is that you don't need to have that client in the chair for 5 hours when you could be doing something quite simple. And again, it's going back to that knowing your product, knowing what the colour house that you're working with is. It's about the importance of really kind of understanding that product. The type of learner that I am, like when I'm trying to learn something, I have to know the ins and outs of it, in order for me to properly understand it. But when you know that and you're comfortable with a product range, you can kind of start to push the boundaries. That rules are there to be broken, but don't break the rules unless you know them. If you know what I mean. And that's kind of a bit of what I'm going to be kind of talking about next week, and how you can use creativity in the salon, and how it's important to do that, not only for your clients but also for you. I think, because it's like, if you're doing the same thing day in, day out, you're going to lose the interest in what you're doing. So you've got to kind of keep yourself inspired, especially through these times where we're starting to see lows and ups and downs of the client frequency, and how you're keeping yourself inspired and kind of locked into your day-to-day.
100%. And you tapped into that word creativity there, Chris. So what does creativity mean to you?
Creativity is one of those words which I've always had a bit of a weird relationship with it. It's very easy for a lot of people, and I feel kind of guilty to that when you think about creativity as, well, I've got to do something so over the top in order for it to be creative, and it's not necessarily the point. And we're speaking earlier on about kind of how you find your own creativity and things like that, and I quite happily put my hand up in the air and say I'm not necessarily the most overly creative person, but it doesn't mean that I'm not creative. I find creativity through different avenues. I'm more of a problem solver, but that adapts into my day-to-day work. And a lot of my creativity, and what we're going to be talking about next week in my webinar, is how you can use your products to be creative on a day-to-day salon client. It could be something very wearable, high street, natural, beautiful wearable hair, okay, but you can still be creative in what you're doing. Okay, you don't need to be doing this pink or green or anything like that. It's creativity comes in within your own realm. as well. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be really touching on next week, and how not to be scared, and don't beat yourself up because you might have seen something that, as we're saying, that you might see, look at someone's BHA collection and think, oh, I would never have thought to do something like that. That doesn't mean that you're not creative, or that you can't aspire to be something, or work towards something like that. It's just the fact that it's about knowing your own channels and finding your own path to success, really.
Fantastic, Chris. So what inspires you, and where do you kind of go to when you want to be more creative?
I think again, music's always been my source of creativity, and I love kind of looking back on history, like British history of culture, and I think we're really kind of flooded with so many different subcultures. That's always been a massive kind of inspiration for me. Like, if anyone follows me on Instagram, I'm obsessed by my an old Lambretta. So I think I'm a bit of a mod, but I try not to. I've always looked in those sorts of realms for sources of creativity, and then there's obviously you've got your trends as well, which I keep in touch with. I try my best to kind of be on the ball with what's happening. But as I said to you earlier on, a lot of my my ideas and that come from problem solving. I will look at something and how can we make it better. What's not working, what is working, and that will spark me. That's almost like the seed that grows into an idea, or into a look, or into an image for me.
And actually, interestingly, Chris, I guess problem solving is more important than ever at the moment, isn't it? And one of our 100%. Sessions at Professional Beauty World is colour correction with Candice McKay. So that's going to be fantastic. What are your thoughts on? I'll find out when that session is on, actually. But just while I look at the day and time for anyone tuning in, what's your thoughts on colour correction and what you've been up to from that point of view, from a problem-solving point of view, since you've been working back in the salon?
Colour correction is quite. It's an interesting thing that we see from like salons that I've worked in previously, different brands that I've worked with. It always instigates those fear in people. Like, they'll sit booked in their collar, I've got a colour change in next week, and I don't know what to do, and things like that. And I think that what's going to be great about this this session next week with Candice McKay is I'm sure that she's going to be talking about kind of reducing the fear from it. And one of the things that I used to do, and when I'm teaching, is by almost changing the perception of colour correction and talk a bit more of a colour change. Okay, a correction to me sounds like sometimes. Something's gone really bad, something really wrong, and I've got to make it all better. And it might not actually be the case. It might be the fact that someone's hairs they're a little bit warm and they want to go a little bit cooler. Okay, and it's taking the fear out of things, and kind of there's nothing worse than going to work and having someone sat in front of you and not being comfortable or confident in what you're doing. And I think that's what, as an educator, is the most important thing is to take that fear away from people. Be in a completely neutral environment, be like, look, and I struggle with things like this sometimes. Okay, this is my experience. This is what you might find would work for you as well. So I think that's going to be a real kind of one to watch, that session. And I think it's a fantastic subject, and it's something that I really enjoy is colour change and colour corrections and things like that. And as I said, just having that confidence, and it almost breeds you to retain those clients, because if you have taken someone's hair that they've not been happy with that, and then you've almost kind of taken it something they're really happy, that client, you'll never get rid of them. You can relocate to the moon and they'll follow you. once they're hooked, they're with you forever.
Fantastic. So if you want to check out that session as well, Chris, and for anyone tuning in, it's on Wednesday the 9th of September at 4 p.m. That's the colour correction after lockdown session with Candice McKay. And I guess that sort of, obviously there's been a lot of colour correction going on over the past few months, and some people might think, oh well, I know everything there is to know now, but from your perspective, do you think there's ever an end to the training and upskilling that hairdressers and colourists and stylists can do?
There isn't, and it's one of those things that I think you can either, it depends on how you look at it, you can either get frustrated with it and think, oh well, I've just got to a certain point and now I need to go back and learn something else and things like that. The most fortunate thing I think about this industry that we're also lucky to work in is that we've got fantastic manufacturers which are constantly researching and constantly looking to improve the technologies that are in colour, improve the ingredients and things like that. So it's an ever-growing kind of circle that you're never really going to get to the end. As the old saying goes that when you know it all is when they put the last nail in the coffin, isn't it? Like you're never going to know it. It's always going to be changing. And then obviously you've got trends as well, like fashion's forever growing, and what we're seeing and how people will start to look for trends now, and how they're trying to express themselves. That will always change. So therefore we'll always be right with it, and it's a constant learning process, and which for me excites me, because I'm one of those people that I can get quite bored quite easily if I'm not constantly inspired by something, or I'm trying to learn something else, or looking for what is going to be the next thing as well. So yeah, I think now is more than ever is so important, because it's clients they're conscious about where they're going, they're conscious about who they're seeing, they're conscious about kind of what they're spending, and when you've got that client in that chair, it's imperative that we're making sure that we're hitting bullseye first time every time. Okay, and if you've got that knowledge behind you in order to recommend to these clients, then it's only going to be a beneficial factor for yourself as well.
Fantastic. So from a colour perspective, you do not want to miss Candice McKay's colour correction session, as well as obviously your session, which we've been talking about as well, on quick and profitable colour services, because time is more important than ever at the moment, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, 100%. And what we were discussing earlier on about the fact that people's lives have changed, and there's a lot more working from home, and for the clients that you've got that have now got kids, they might have an hour and a half window in the middle of the day where they can sneak out to get their hair done. And what we don't want is those clients who I'm just going to go and have a quick haircut. I don't have time to have the colour today. Whereas it doesn't need to be like that. Okay, so it can be like express colour services, lunchtime colouring, and I think you'll probably start to notice, depending on what the location of your salon is. I've worked in central London, I worked in Soho before, and I found that as a technician, I really had to maximise that between 11:30 and 1:30 to make sure that I'm busy, because it might be the fact that it will go really, really quiet up until when these guys finish work again. And I'm based in Camden. It's obviously a very kind of passing trade as well, and obviously we've got a lot of offices around here. So the guys that are back in the offices, they've not got much time. So it's when I've got them in the chair, I need to be making sure that I'm kind of efficient. And it's all about having confidence in your product and knowing what's reliable. And kind of this is what I'm going to talk about next week, is why I use these products and why I fall back on them, and why it's so important that they're there for me in order to give my clients what I need to give them, basically. I think we're in a time now where we need to be talking about we need to be recommending services. We need to keep the client engaged. Okay, I think it's one of the most important things. Making sure we retain that client. Okay, one of the biggest things that we push, we talk about HOB, is the returning client. That client doesn't come back, and what was it all about? What have we done? And then again, making sure that they rebook in that appointment. And like now, there's no excuse not to rebook now. We're in the most perfect. It's almost like the industry's hit reset button, and we can start again. Be like, I'm telling my clients to book 2 appointments in advance now. And then also the importance of retail as well, and how that is. I've always, and anyone that I've ever worked for, I've always treated that business as if it's my own. And I think if you're gonna get paid at the end of the month, and then make sure you're giving something back, and things like retail is really important to not only to growing the business, but also for the client, and making sure that they're being educated in what it is that they're putting on their hair. And then some of the products I'm going to talk about next week from Weather Professionals is like Colour Fresh, which is a colour that can be retailed for them to use at home. I feel a lot more comfortable knowing what they're putting on their hair at home, rather than them going down to the local shop and putting any old bits and bobs on there. At least I know it's coming out if I need to take it out.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, and what you tapped into there was very interesting, actually. Is about, as a stylist, a colorist, and educator, it's just as important for you to want to keep the business going. And actually, we've got a full business conference as part of Professional Beauty World next week across those 3 days, the 8th to the 10th of September 2020, with sessions throughout the day. And one of those sessions is actually how to develop and retain a talented team, which I guess is also equally as important at the moment, isn't it? It's holding on to your...
It's really important. And I think as when I was a younger hairdresser, it was very much, I was probably of the mindset like, turn up to work, do your clients, go home. And as I've kind of matured and things like, you start to actually realise that like, these clients are oh, what's paying for my holiday next year, or what's paying my rent, and why it's so important to look after them. And I've watched clients become transient, and it's very important to educate the rest of the team as well. I find that as a senior member of staff in the salon, like, is don't just go in. It's not dog eat dog. It's not everyone's for themselves. I just do my clients and I let everyone else crack on. It's about educating people around you, and then also taking education from other people as well. So it might be the fact that sometimes I watch what the assistants are doing. That's a good idea, actually. I'll pinch that. But and again, treating that business as your own. And I always put myself into the perspective of what would I expect from that appointment, and I'd want to be building almost like a rapport and a relationship with that hairdresser or that technician that's colouring my hair, and I want to be knowing that they care. I think that's the one thing I'm really strong in, is that if you don't care, then don't do it. Right? So showing that you care. So one of the first things, and again we'll talk about this next week in a bit more depth, is one of the first things I do when I get my client in the chair and I'm actually applying colour is I'm talking about their next appointment, as if it's like, because they've not even got the option. Like,
yeah, they're going to be back in your chair again.
I'm afraid you're legally bound now that you've got that. So, but they really respect that, because they're like, well, he's thinking, he cares about what I look like and what my hair's going to look like. And when people are paying money, and we're about to hit times where things are going to change, and people are going to be more conscious about where they're spending their money. And I think people will always give money to areas or to businesses that show they care. And I think that's where, as a brand at HOB, we're really strong on that, and kind of we really push that with all the education for all our internal staff and external.
Definitely. Oh, fantastic, Chris. And yeah, so like we were saying, obviously lapping up through education is more important than ever, really, isn't it? And all those business skills and getting all the tips and tricks you can get to make sure you as an individual thrive, but also that your business that you're working for also thrives.
100%.
During these difficult times. So is there any particular session that you're going to be eagerly and tuning into next week, other than your own, of course? But of course. You've got no choice over that one, Chris.
Definitely Candice's colour change, colour correction one, that would be great. And I think for a few of the business ones as well, because I think it's very easy to, when you start to delve into more of the creative side of hairdressing, that you forget that. And at the end of the day, if this, as we were just saying, if the business is not successful, then we can't be doing the shoots and the shows and all of that. So, and why that is important, and why it's, any hairdresser needs to understand that, because at the end of the day, a job's a job. And I know we love it, and everyone says it's our passion, but fundamentally it pays the bills at the end of the day. And why it's so important to make sure that we are in tune with that, and making sure that we're growing the business and everyone's being successful. Because as long as everyone's successful, then we're all going to be successful. So.
Definitely. And I guess it's more important than ever, arguably, isn't it? Because we've got through those first couple of months of the salons reopening where everyone was desperate for their first appointment. They wanted to get their hair sorted out. But I guess it's now that you've got to think about the business side of it, the creative side of it, getting people back.
Well, the first few weeks were chaos.
It felt like Christmas.
It was mad. It was absolute madness. But then, and again, of course, there is going to be this kind of up and down, because as I said, it's almost like someone's hit reset for the industry. Now, what we need to make sure that we've not got happening is that every 8 weeks we've got those manic periods when people are coming back, and how we start to spread these clients out to make sure that it's more of an even kind of a flow of income and clients for the salon as well. And again, and this is again what we're going to be talking about next week, is how we can. One of the great things that we've got a bit of a system here in HOB, is that if someone will check all the clients at the start of the day, it's just that I'll come in for just haircuts, and we'll talk about kind of have they come in for colour? Has it been 6 months since they come in for colour, or a year? And then what I would do is we'll kind of make a little column, and we'll go over and actually introduce ourselves as technicians. Be like, how do you feel about your hair colour? They might turn around and be like, love it, leave me alone. Or it might be like, do you know what? No one's actually ever spoke to me about my hair colour. What do you think of it? And again, it's being kind of conscious of it, and being on it. I mean, being on the ball, being proactive with how you grow yourself and grow the business as well.
Definitely, and thinking outside of the box as well, isn't it? And not just staying within your own little kind of specialism or expertise.
Yeah, and again, and working with people like you, I've got really good relationships with certain stylists in the salon, and then I love the way that they maybe finish my colours, and they like the way that I colour their clients' haircuts, and things like that. You start to build a bit of a rapport, and you start to naturally start to working as a bit of a team. And as we're going back to what you're saying about how teamwork was so important, and not only just from a creative team here in the academy, but also as salon teams, and you've got to have those. The characters, and every salon's different, and you've always got the one that's messed around, the one that's having a laugh, and you've got the serious one, but you start to take them away, and then the whole dynamic changes, and it's really important to have that, and work's got to be fun as well. You've got to be having fun. If you're not having fun, then it's not you're not going to give it your all.
100%. You've got to be there every day, haven't you? You've got to enjoy it, which is
100%.
Well, the time has been flying by, Chris. We're getting towards the end of the session now. But I guess, do you have any final words to wrap up to explain to people why they should 100% check out professionalbeauty.world, register for free online 8th to 10th of September, and in particular, why they should check out your session on quick and profitable colour services on next Thursday at 12:30?
I think the key call out there is it's free to register. Like, give it to me all. Get everything. Any chance that you get to do free education then go for it. So I think, and I'll be lapping everything up. We're having a look at everyone's sessions. My session's going to be about kind of how you've got that client that's got maybe roots down to here, and they've got a bit blonde on the ends, and they actually don't mind it. They want to stay like that. How I'm going to get that client back into my chair. That's what I'm going to be kind of focusing on. And how to deal with those clients that have got long roots and don't mind it now, or how to talk about changing that client's kind of aspects and opinion on why they need to be coming in to get their colour done. But as I said, I just think I'd be on everyone's session if it was me. I will be there. I'll be watching.
It's 3 days worth of free education, free business advice with experts, all the leading people from global hairdressing.
We're just so lucky to have stuff like this as an industry. Like it's great, and like obviously like Hairdressers Journal as well. Like, thank you to you guys for kind of being kind of like pushing stuff like this as well. I think we're all very very lucky as an industry to have these opportunities coming up for us.
Fantastic. And obviously we had the sad news last week that we've had to postpone Salon International, so this is
it's real
exactly
shame.
This is a great opportunity to kind of network and feel like you're part of that community while we wait for those our big shows to be able to come back.
I think next year is going to be even bigger and better then, isn't it? I think
100%.
Everyone's going to be there next year. It's mad.
I think it's going to be crazy next year, if I'm being honest. In a good way, of course. Yeah, definitely. And we've had one question just before we wrap up, Chris. Tony's asking, it's a question about HOB actually. HOB looking at, as a company, are they looking at expanding in the not too distant future? That's from Tony.
As a brand, I think everyone's does that, and I think it probably goes across with everyone in the industry. We're all just trying to find our feet a little bit at the moment and work out what is the new normal, what's the effects that this is going to have long term. We're hiring at the moment. We are always looking for new staff for the salon.
Anyone tuning in can get
always speak to Clive Collins, obviously the director, alongside Paul and Ucken. We'll look after that as well, but we're always looking for new staff to come in and again be busy and be happy. And so always check out the website hobsalons.com, and it will be any information will be on there.
Brilliant. And then you'll obviously, everyone watching will be able to tune in to see you next week, Chris.
100%. We'll have a laugh, bring the band.
It's going to be brilliant. So next Thursday 12:30. Chris from HOB is sharing his hints and tips on how to create quick and profitable colour services in the salon, not to be missed. And we've also got the full schedule across the 3 days. They're business sessions as well as creative sessions across hair, beauty, aesthetics, barbering. We didn't touch on the barbering side, but Kevin Luckman were doing great barbering demos. So lots for you to find, and you can register for free at professionalbeauty.world. So don't miss it, and we can't wait to see you next week, Chris. I think you've given us a great teaser. We can't wait to see you with your model doing your demo next week.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing everyone next week on the 10th then.
Fantastic. Take care, Chris, and we'll see you very soon.
Take care, Laura. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.